Hey, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world, whatever it is, good. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. That's how we'll go backwards, I guess. Um, hey, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It is our first live video on this channel. Sorry, it's this. Sorry about the lighting and the granular video, but as you can tell, my office is packed. And we already donated a bunch of stuff to the church, and that included our softbox lights. So this is the real me. There's no photoshopping this. Sorry. It's on my heart today. I want to talk to you about something really quick, if I can. I always say really quick, and there's never really quick with Russ, but I want to talk to you about Matthew 9 and Luke 10. Matthew 9:37, Jesus is talking, and he's saying literally, the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. He says the same thing in Luke. The harvest is plentiful or abroad, and the workers are few. And this scripture has really been on our heart since this last trip to Scotland. See, we've been trying to find a way to talk to people because one of the challenges that we have in Scotland is, oh, well, Scotland's a Christian country, or Scotland's a civilized country, or whatever. And what we try to tell people is of 5 million people in Scotland, 80% of them are not Christians. 80%. And of the 20% or so that are Christians, and here's the numbers. Let's break this down. You've probably all heard this before. Just bear with me for a second. 5.5 million people in Scotland. 1.9 million of those say they're Christians. Of the 1.9 million that say they're Christians, less than 11,000 attend church more than 5 times a year. And of the 11,000 Christians that are in Scotland, less than 7,600 attend church on a regular basis. That is not a Christian nation. It just isn't. A Christian nation would be 51% or higher, maybe, give or take, whatever the greatest population would be, but that's not the deal in Scotland. So these scriptures, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few, is very near and dear to us. I want to give you one more. Stephen Shadrach, in his book called The God Ask, phenomenal book, by the way. I think everybody should read it, regardless if you're a missionary or whatever. It talks about the principles of giving in the first 2 or 3 chapters in ways I've never had anybody speak to me about it before. And if I ever teach on tithing, that's going to be what I teach from. It just blew me away. And so I said, say, if I ever teach, when I teach on tithing. So what kills me is something I read probably in the first 2 or 3 chapters, maybe the 4th chapter of his book, where he's talking about missionaries. At any given time, there's about 500,000 people that want to go into ministry. Can you imagine what 500,000 people could do if they all entered the ministry and did full-time ministry for their life, the impact that would have on the world? It would be huge. Talk about a revival in the land. It'd be like the next thing we would have to do is look for something in the air and listen for trumpets, because it would be that huge of a deal. But of those 500,000 people, less than 1% will actually strive to raise their own support to enter the ministry. And to what? Be hated by the world, Jesus says. To be persecuted, Jesus says. Some will die for it. But they're raising money for it at the same time. Isn't that interesting? But 1%, 500 people. Man. I just think about, we have that in the state of Florida probably for missionaries that actually raise their own support and do their thing. Now, let me tell you, my journey with this has been this. This is week 25. Next week is week 26. It will be 6 months since we started fundraising, support raising rather. We've had some people that have been extraordinarily generous with their funds, in our opinion, because we know that they don't have much. And God's timing is perfect. Every time something came up that we had to take care of, somebody gave, and it literally fit the bill. So when I hear about Pastor Todd talking about he and his dad how God kept them on their knees and kept them humble, and God kept providing, it makes sense. When Pastor Craig Rochelle talks about in the early days when they had church and they were trying to make these buildings work and this technology, and God kept providing, it makes sense to me now because I've experienced it, and it's pretty cool. And so I think that what we're really trying to get through to everybody, because the next one in this is, and it's really clear, in Romans 10:14, I think it is. Let's go look at it together really quick. In Romans 10:14, it says this, and it changed my life, especially when it was more about what do we have to do to become the missionaries God has called us to be. In 10:12, Paul is talking to the Hebrews, right? He's talking to the group of people about being saved, and it says, "For there's no difference between Jew and Gentile," talking about a slap in the face. "The Lord is the Lord of all, and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the Lord will be saved." That's huge, man. That's huge. But here's what's heartbreaking. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they've been sent? I'm going to come back to that because I've been praying about something. I have an answer for a few people that need to hear this if they watch this. It's written, "How beautiful are the feet of those who bring us good news." I didn't make this video just now to talk about this, but it's interesting how God intervenes on our behalf to speak about something very clear. I have had friends and family say, "Russ, the UK is not a hurting country. The Philippines is a impoverished country. China is a impoverished country. There are kids dying in Africa. There are people, blah, blah, blah." I mean, it just goes. And I understand that. I've seen the pictures and I've read the stories. I get that people are being persecuted. I just got done reading about the 43 men and women that were, and their children who were decapitated, beheaded in front of one another. In fact, their children were beheaded in front of their parents. Talk about a nightmare. And one survivor was there left to tell about what happened on purpose. But that's not happening in Scotland, Russ. Or is it? Or is it? I'm always being curious about how my friend Patrick was going to fit into all this because we're not really close. We're online friends. We've compared information. And as a gift, I sent him a shirt called "Jesus Saves." You've probably seen it on other videos because it's one of my favorites. And I sent him the shirt because they didn't ship to Scotland. It's too expensive. But he wanted a shirt. I wanted to gift him a shirt, so we sent him a shirt. He was getting on a bus, and he was stabbed 6 times. And as the man walked away from him, he said, "Let's see if your God saves you now." So persecution is happening in Scotland. It's just a matter of, do we hear it? Because there is no media or news on Patrick being stabbed anywhere. No newspapers, no columns. I think there's one mention in a Facebook where a lady said that she saw this, and then no media, none. But it's happening. Or a pastor that was recently stabbed in London when he was walking to church for a Wednesday night Bible study, and they killed him. 2 men, 2 assailants, possibly 3, 2 for sure, stabbed a pastor to death. 31 years old. Wife, 2 children, dead. So how is it different for us to go to Scotland and give the good news and spread the gospel to those that have not heard or have heard but don't understand compared to the ones who are in the same boat? Who says those people are greater than those people, or those people that are more deserving than those people? I'm not going to say that. God has called us to Scotland, and we're going to go. I'm not telling God no anymore. I've seen too much. I've witnessed too much. I've witnessed his goodness. I've witnessed him changing lives. I've witnessed him healing people that have. I watched a bipolar, schizophrenic man become normal. I watched a woman who was walking with a walker leave the walker at a coffee shop after we prayed for her. I've seen too much. We're going. Okay, Russ, thank you for all that. It's been 10 minutes. What's your point? We need your money. I'm sorry. It's just a fact of life. We're at over 60%, 64%. We need to be at 80%. We're selling our house, selling our cars, sold the guns, sold everything, not selling my dog. He's family. It doesn't happen like that. And we're buying a house there now because it's cheaper to buy a house. It cuts our expenses in half. And it doesn't give us residency. In fact, the gamble's all ours, but we're going anyways. We're stepping out in faith over and over and over and over and over again because God keeps showing up over and over and over and over again. So why would we not want to? And better yet, why would you not want to be a part of that? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm smiling because I just got an email of a no. And I used to get really upset and frustrated. And why me? What is about me that they don't like? Because it's all about Russ. And what I've realized is God just didn't put it on their heart. If you have any conviction at all, I would say you need to check your heart and ask God what you're supposed to be doing. What we're asking for, we like to do minimum donations of $75 a month for up to 2 years. That's $1,500. $1,500 over 2 years. Most people we know will spend that in meals over the next 6 to 8 months. A lot of people that we know will spend that in coffee, cigarettes, or alcohol in the next year. We're asking you to partner with us for $75 a month to $100 a month to whatever you want to give so we can go to Scotland and spread the good news. It's our battleground. We've heard the cry. We've seen the dead people walking, and it's time for us to do our part. That's it. That's all I got. If you would, go to the comment section. Our websites are down there. Sign up for our newsletter. Go check it out. Lisa does a fantastic job on our newsletters. And we've had actually other people write on our behalf of things they've seen and witnessed. It's been pretty cool. You'll be encouraged by it, I promise. Anyways, we love you guys. Thank you for watching. There's a really cool video coming up with Pastor Drew Haig from Christ Fellowship. You're not going to want to miss it the next few weeks. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.